You picture the anxious retiree a certain way, don't you? Sweater vest, calculator, still clipping coupons out of the Sunday paper like it's 1987, terrified that one Applebee's dinner is going to sink the whole ship. That's the picture. It's mostly wrong. The real story I keep running into is the opposite kind of guy. Spent 40 years getting very, very good at not spending money, retired with plenty of it, and then just kept not spending it out of habit. Nobody told his hands to stop. There's a study out of the Retirement Income Institute that looked at actual 65-year-olds with actual retirement accounts and found the average one is only drawing down about 2% of it a year. 2%. You could double that, in most cases triple it, and still not be the problem you're afraid of being. So somewhere between that first paycheck and the last one, we all quietly stopped caring about 12 things we used to lose sleep over. Some of that's freedom. Some of it, if we're honest, is just us finally getting tired of performing. Let's go through them. Number 1 is the big one, so let's start there instead of building up to it. I knew a retired mechanic, 31 years fixing other people's transmissions, pension, paid-off house, more saved than he ever talked about. He drove a truck with 210,000 miles on it and a check engine light he'd been meaning to look at for about 3 years. Not because he couldn't afford a new one. He told me once, half joking, that buying a new truck felt like admitting something. I never got him to say what. That's not a money problem. That's a training problem. 40 years of paychecks teach you exactly one motion. Put it away, put it away, put it away. And nobody ever teaches you the opposite motion because nobody thought you'd need it. So the guy who did everything right spends his 60s still white-knuckling a truck that should have been retired before he was. Here's the part that actually surprised me when I went looking at the research. It's not just him. That Retirement Income Institute number from a minute ago, the average 65-year-old spending about 2% of savings a year, that's not one guy being careful. That's most people. And separately, a researcher named David Blanchett, who studies this for a living, found that real spending in retirement tends to drift downward for most of us year over year, all through our 70s. Not because the money runs out, because the habit never got the memo that the goal changed. I'm not telling you to go buy a truck. I'm telling you the fear is bigger than the number ever was. And if you've quietly started letting yourself off the hook for it, that's not recklessness. That's just finally believing the math. Number 2, what the neighbors think. There's a survey that asks people across every generation whether they feel pressure to keep up with the people around them. The car, the vacation, the kitchen remodel. 62% of Gen Z said yes. 44% of millennials, and boomers, us, or close enough to us, 8%. 8. Your grandkids are stressed out about a Toyota in somebody's driveway. You're not. And that's not you slowing down, or caring less, or getting cheap in your old age. That's you winning a game everybody else is still playing. I've got a neighbor. Great guy. Leases a new SUV every 2 years like clockwork. Always the newest one on the block. I used to half envy it. Then I did the math on what leasing a new SUV every 2 years actually costs over a decade, and I stopped half envying it and started fully not envying it. He's not wrong to enjoy his cars. I just noticed I'd quietly stopped needing to. Number 3, and this one's short because it deserves to be, the extended warranty. Somewhere around Register 3 at every appliance store in America, a very nice young man asks if you'd like to protect your $200 toaster oven for an extra $60 over 4 years. That product is held together with hopes, dreams, and a profit margin that would make a casino blush. We used to say yes to that, reflexively. Now we just say it's a toaster and walk out. Number 4, the closet. Somewhere in most of our houses, there's still a section of the closet that hasn't been touched since the retirement party. The blazers, the good shoes, the shirts that needed ironing, and a reason. We kept them for a while out of habit, like we might get called back in. We didn't. And at some point we stopped pretending we were going to wear them to Costco. Number 5, the coupon drawer. There used to be a whole ritual to it. The Sunday inserts, the scissors, the little envelope organized by aisle. Saving 40 cents on a box of cereal felt like a genuine accomplishment. And look, if that's still your Sunday and you enjoy it, keep going. No judgment here. but a lot of us just quietly noticed one day that we were spending 20 minutes to save $1.60 and bought the cereal. Number 6 is a bigger one, and it's going to make some of you argue with me in the comments, which is fine. Argue away. For most of our lives, pay off the house was the finish line. You didn't retire until that mortgage was dead and buried. That was practically the definition of retired, and for a long time that made sense. It's making less sense than it used to. The Federal Reserve Bank of Boston looked at homeowners between 65 and 79 and found the share of them still carrying a mortgage has climbed by 17 percentage points since 1989. 17 points in one direction for over 3 decades straight. And a separate study done for Fannie Mae puts it plainly for the youngest end of that group. Right around half of homeowners, 65 to 69, are still writing a mortgage check every month. I know a couple. She was a school teacher. He ran a hardware store for 30 years, who could pay off their house tomorrow in cash. They're not going to. They refinanced years back into a rate under 3%, and every financial advisor they've ever asked has told them the same thing, that money works harder sitting in their investments than it would sitting in drywall. They still get asked at every family dinner when they're going to finally pay that thing off. They've stopped answering. They've also stopped caring that they've stopped answering. That's the real shift. It's not that debt stopped mattering, it's that the mortgage stopped being a report card. All right, that's the first half. Everything up to here was stuff we stopped buying into. What's coming next is different. It's people we stopped needing to protect. And the next one's the one people argue with me about every single time I make this list. Number 7, the life insurance policy. Think about why you actually bought it. For most of us, it wasn't some abstract, responsible adult impulse. It was because you had young kids, a mortgage, and one income that everything depended on. If something happened to you, that policy was the only thing standing between your family and real trouble. Now the kids are grown and paying their own mortgages. The house, see number 6, is either paid off or being carried on purpose. And there's enough saved that if something happened to you tomorrow, nobody in your family would actually be in danger. So a lot of us look at that policy and the premium coming out every month and quietly ask what exactly it's still protecting. For a lot of households, the honest answer is not much anymore. And that's why dropping it, or letting a term policy simply expire instead of renewing at whatever they want to charge you at 70, is one of the most common moves people make once they actually sit down and look at it. I want to be straight with you on this one, though, because it matters. There's a study that found something worth sitting with. Married women in their 50s and early 60s have a poverty rate around 5%. Widows the same age, 20%, 4 times higher. That gap exists because somebody somewhere dropped a policy a little too early or never checked what would actually happen to their spouse's income if they went first. So this isn't cancel it, you're fine. It's actually run the number. If the mortgage is gone and the kids don't need you financially and your spouse's income wouldn't drop much without you, the policy you bought at 35 may have already finished its job. If any of that isn't true yet, it hasn't. Number 8, the car itself. Not the leasing thing from before, just the plain fact that a lot of us are driving the same car we drove 5-6 years ago, and it doesn't bother us the way it used to. There was a stretch of life where the car in the driveway said something about you, whether you meant it to or not. It's paid off. It runs. Nobody's grading it anymore, including you. Number 9, what travel even means. For a while, there was pressure to make it big. The 2-week cruise, the whole photo album for the grandkids. A lot of us have quietly downgraded that to a long weekend 3 hours away and enjoyed it just as much, maybe more, because nobody's flying home exhausted from a vacation that felt like a second job. We'll come back to why that shift makes sense a little later. Number 10, quick one, the shoebox. Somewhere in a closet, a lot of us are still holding on to a shoebox, or 3, full of receipts for things we bought a decade ago, just in case. In case of what, nobody's ever fully explained. At some point, you look at that shoebox, realize the warranty on the microwave inside it expired around the same time as the microwave, and you throw the whole thing out. Freeing. Number 11 is different from the other 10, and I want to flag that honestly. This isn't something you should stop caring about. It's the opposite. This is the one where not caring costs people real money. A lot of us grew up believing Social Security is money you already paid tax on once, so it comes back tax-free. It doesn't work that way, and it hasn't for a long time. Depending on your income, up to 85% of your benefit can be taxable at the federal level. Not automatically, and not half your check, which is the version I hear most often, and which is just wrong. Up to 85% of the benefit, and only past a certain point. Here's how that point gets calculated. Take your regular income, add any tax-exempt interest, add half of your Social Security benefit, and that total decides your tier. Single filer, cross 25,000, up to 50% of your benefit becomes taxable. Cross 34,000, up to 85%. Married and filing together, those same tiers hit at 32,000 and 44,000. And here's the part that should actually annoy you. Those numbers haven't moved since the 1980s and 90s. Not adjusted for inflation, not once, while benefits themselves go up almost every year with cost of living increases, which means every single year more retirees get pulled across a line that never moves purely because their own benefit grew. So of everything on this list, this is the one item where I'd ask you to care a little more, not less. Run the number once. It takes 10 minutes, and it's the only one on this list that can actually cost you money for not knowing it. Number 12. And it brings us back to that vacation question from a minute ago. There's real research on how spending actually moves through retirement, and the honest version is a little messier than the neat story you usually hear. Most of us spend the most in the early years, the go-go years, when the health is good, and the whole point of retiring was to finally use it. Then it drifts down through the 70s as the pace slows on its own, no one forcing it. What happens after that is genuinely still debated. Some retirees see a small uptick late in life as a health costs rise, some just keep drifting down. Nobody's fully settled, which is more common, and honestly, it doesn't matter much for you. What matters is the shape underneath both versions. Spending is not supposed to stay flat for 30 years. It's supposed to move with your life. The long weekend instead of the cruise wasn't a failure to keep up. It was just accurate. 12 things, some of them just money, a couple of them real money. But look back at the list for a second. The mechanic and his truck, the neighbor and his leased SUV, the house we're not rushing to pay off, the policy we finally let expire. None of that is us slowing down. It's us finally being done performing for people who, if we're honest, were never really watching that closely in the first place. The only performance that was ever real, it turns out, is the one where you actually get to enjoy having done it right. So tell me, which one of these 12 stung? Not which one you agreed with. Which one's actually you right now today? Put it in the comments. I read everyone, and I promise you're not the only person who's going to see their own name in that list.